millennia, Egypt was a country where time stood still, changing no more than its crumbling monuments of antiquity. Pharaohs and conquerors ruled over its people. Some of these leaders were despotic, others benign, but always the fate of ordinary Egyptians lay in the hands of another. Then suddenly, on the 25th of January 2011, the Egyptian people exploded into Cairo's Tahrir Square and throughout the nation. They rose up by the millions, demanding liberty and democracy as a free people. It was a revolution like none other in Egypt's recorded history. A revolution led by the young.
I went on the 28th of January, when there was the bombs and the foil. I saw many of the bombs that were thrown in the balconies of any home, and it was really a good experience, but it was scary.
And a revolution fueled by simple words.
Freedom, nationalism, and one hand.
Justice, freedom, democracy, I think.
Just 2 weeks later, the people's intense daily demonstrations and outrage forced President Hosni Mubarak and his government to surrender and abandon the power they had held for 3 decades.
They were fighting for freedom and fighting for justice, and they're sick of oppression, and I think they weren't willing to just stand there anymore to take it from, from the tyrant anymore. And I think it's one of the biggest displays of perseverance and bravery in a really long time, especially for this country.
Life returned to a kind of normality. Egyptians resumed their daily routines. Opposition leaders, along with the Egyptian army, took charge of the government. Most Egyptians felt they were on the path to the freedom that they had so passionately demanded. But how has life in Egypt actually changed since Mubarak was forced from power? Tahrir Square, the very heart of the revolution, has seemingly been vacated by the spirit of change. The military council enforces the same emergency laws, including a curfew to keep citizens off the street at night. Politically, there is a vacuum. The revolution demanded a government accountable to the people and ruled by transparent institutions. But now, the only ruler is uncertainty.
It's on the edge. You don't know where it's heading.
Egypt has slipped from the spotlight of world attention as the daily news focuses on other uprisings in the region. The revolution is over, but Egypt remains a nation in transition, its future far from clear.
Some people might consider the revolution the end, and I think it's more of a beginning, and that's the problem right now, because you need to get people to be more motivated to move and, keep it from being a failed revolution.
Among the first steps taken by the caretaker government was to arrest dozens of businessmen and officials with ties to the Mubarak regime. Rashid Mohammed Rashid, Suhair Garana, Ahmed Ez, Ahmed El Maghrabi. They have been charged with profiting from the public purse. Neither are they alone. In the 5 weeks since the revolution, some 150 businessmen and former officials have been arrested and charged with crimes. A staggering caseload that would overwhelm even the most developed legal systems. Some fear the detention signals an uglier phase in the Egyptian revolution, in which key figures from the former regime face public trials through emergency courts, and that with these trials, the new Egypt falters in establishing the rule of law, the cornerstone of free and fair societies.
What is more important than the revolution? The answer, protecting it and managing it.
Dr. Bahat Korani is a political science professor at the American University in Cairo.
I had some of the young people from Midan al-Tahrir coming to see me here. And I say, your challenge is to be fair, to establish a regime, even if people are going to be indicted, you do not violate their basic human rights. And they find that difficult. I think the pressure has been kept in for so much, so when it comes out, it is a sort of explosion, and you have some excesses.
The prisoners are transported in modern-day tumbrils. Their attorneys are attacked and threatened, and the call for blood is strong.
We believe that this revolution should represent the antithesis, the opposite direction of the grievances we are complaining about. So you can't remedy something wrong by committing the same wrong. So this hurry is not justified. Any violation of basic human rights or of the rule of law now will be a continuation of the old malady, of the old disease.
Dr. Kamal Abu Magad is one of Egypt's foremost constitutional lawyers. He fears that in the country's current instability, Egypt's prosecutors and judges cannot help but be influenced by public opinion.
They are genuinely independent, but however, not absolutely so. Nowhere. Well, in the history of the United States, you know better. You had lynching at some times, and you have the influence of public opinion in certain sensitive areas of the law, which is mingled with politics and with public opinion. I resent the word public opinion when it comes to the judicial process, because it simply means, by necessity, that whoever is going to act as judge will be influenced by the mobs, the psychology of the mob, the pressure of the mobs, so he will feel imperatively obliged to condemn.
And so Egypt comes to a crossroads, to move forward with openness and fairness, or to step back to the unfair and repressive justice systems under Mubarak. The irony is not lost on the young Egyptians who fought the revolution.
Many people are advocating against revenge, and many people are not. They're not cold-hearted. They're not, but they've been suppressed so long that they feel this is the only way that they will eventually. This is the only way that will triumph. They want their revenge. I personally believe that later will be a better, more suitable environment where we have stability to a certain extent after that.
How the powers of post-revolution Egypt conducts these trials will be the first signal of how the country will evolve into a true democracy in which government institutions can be trusted by the people, or into a disappointment to the masses that filled Tahrir Square and who demanded change.